Alrighty, I wanted to make a super simple video of how to change a power supply because I know people that buy pre-builts are always worried that their power supply is no good and they're worried about having to change it. Um, I'm not going to say power supplies and pre-builts are perfect. Sometimes they go with smaller ones or bad brands and you want to get a new one just to be safe of mind, and that's great. So first things first, you want to unplug. Well, first things first, you want to take out the side panel on both sides, front and back, so that way it's exposed. Next, you take out the GPU cables, which is just push on these tabs, and it will open up. And sometimes if it's been in there for a while, you have to jiggle it, so don't be worried. Just as long as you're pushing up on these clips, that thing, where my finger is now pushing, as long as you're pushing on that, you're not going to hurt anything. So then you're going to take out the 16 pin, the 2 or 1 GPU, and then the CPU up top. And if you have any SATAs plugged into a DVD drive like that, ignore all these cables. And then onto the back. And then if you have a cluster of hard drives like me, all right there, and SSD, you're going to have SATA hooked up to those, so unplug those as well. Make sure everything is pretty much freely coming. Pull it out of these holes. Make sure to take your time doing it. Don't rip on it, because these sides are sharp, and these cables can get ripped pretty easily if you're not super careful. Usually just jiggle. If you're not sure, take your time and jiggle. Gotta get this top one as well. It's definitely easier to get it in than out. So that's out. That's a CPU fan. And then just make sure that everything is untangled. Now, depending on what kind of case you have, this part's going to be different. Pull it out. So you either have 4 pins connected to your CPU case like this, or you have a mount that's holding it on. Either way, you want to just take out the screws so the PSU can move freely. Next, make sure no cords are going to be in the way like that. And grab her and pull her out. Now, if you don't have a shroud, you can probably pull it out from the front easier than pulling out the side. Shroud is this big box thing that holds everything in. God, my computer's super dusty in the right light. It looks good in the dark room. Does not look good when you're flashing an LED at it. Then I just have to make sure that this is all out. Alrighty, so now after you get your old power supply out, you want to put in the new one, and maybe at the same time make sure to clean up a little bit of this. I'm probably going to be taking this back out to make sure this is clean, because this thing is way dirtier than I thought. But anyways, make sure to face your fan the appropriate way. If you don't have a shroud and you think your PC is cool enough, by all means face the fan upwards. But for me, I'm going to be facing it downwards because there is a protective vent right here that keeps dust from getting into it. You can see how dirty that is. That's all the dust that didn't get sucked into my power supply. Which, let's take a look to see if that thing actually worked. All this dust flying around. Jam her back in there. Sweet. So this has been in my computer for, God, years. And everything seems to be not bad at all. It's actually not too dusty. I don't see any real dust cakes on there other than just on this edge. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so then you're just going to reverse it because I have a modular. I'm only going to use the cables I need, but if you don't, you just do the reverse steps. Screw back in the screws, follow the lines, and then bring them right back to the places that you took them from, and that's pretty much it.